a lot of what is going to happen in 2020. For example, these days employees are not expected to travel extensively because video conferencing is taking care of all the physical meetings. The concept of work from anywhere is gaining a lot of momentum. So the generation of today would prefer to maybe open their laptops, sit at a cafe and get the work done, provided the work is getting done. So it's not just about, as you rightly mentioned, the number of hours swiped, but it's more about productivity hours. So can you throw some light on how technology is going to drive the office of 2020?
Absolutely, Brian. I think you brought up a lot of points. In fact, Professor Narasimhan here as well touched upon quite a lot of aspects here for sure. And I think this topic in itself is quite huge, right? Especially talking about digitization. Technology is there and is ever expanding, and primarily I think the kind of complexity in technology is definitely going to be driving this industry. Especially the IT services industry and things that they kind of I don't see a dearth of need for technology within the marketplace and things like that. Especially from an HR standpoint, I particularly see as doing things faster, better, instead of cheaper, I say more efficient. Right? So to that extent, the traditional role of HR that we have, where let's say so we started primarily we are talking about leave management. So when we say leave management, people before doing leave, you need to raise leave 3 days ahead of time. After coming back, you need to submit a medical certificate. All those primarily realms, all those norms that existed, perhaps will be a thing of the past for sure. But I'm saying more from a standpoint of systems, automation, ensuring so the role of HR is not just transactional. It's not just following through with an employee to do a certain thing, whether it be appraisals in the system, whether it be undergoing training and those kind of things. So this all will be automated for sure, right? And there is a need to automate as well, because at the end of the day, the role of HR needs to evolve. The role of HR needs to primarily become more strategic. It needs to, we were just talking about earlier, saying as companies consolidate, as companies merge, HR has a distinct seat in the boardrooms as well when we talk about mergers and acquisitions in the company. Today, without that HR seat being filled up, no acquisition primarily is successful. Right? So to that extent, the mindset will be more from a standpoint of saying, how can I add more value into the business? How I, as an HR professional, primarily will be able to take part in the business and will be able to contribute to the outcome in terms of whether be it increasing revenue, whether be it increasing market share, whether be it increasing customer stickiness within the organization. So all of these aspects come into the picture for sure. Right? So to that extent, Professor Narasimhan also talked about virtual offices. Absolutely. I mean, today, who would want to commute 3 hours, 4 hours in a day, going back and coming to work, right? So end of the day, the same 3 hours, 4 hours, you primarily work on your virtual offices, and technology would play a great role in that, in terms of how do you make sure that the employee is really working, how do you primarily make sure that the productivity is still not lost by giving that flexibility to the individual. So technology will play a very, very key role there for sure. And you brought up things about video conferencing. Yes, it has definitely saved cost for the companies, but more than the cost, it's the convenience. Right? So we were just talking about saying how video conferencing is still impersonal, but if you were to go a step ahead and say how can you create conference rooms where you could have holographic presence available for people, instead of 5 of us sitting here in person, if you continue to be in Mumbai, right, and we 4 of us sitting here, but that chair is occupied by a holographic image of yours, versus these 4 chairs occupied by the holographic image of ours in Mumbai, that would be a great way to collaborate. And primarily, look at you sideways and talk and get a response as well. So I think.
But do you think Indian organizations are willing to embrace these heavily technology-influenced practices, or do you think a lot of Indian organizations are still trying to play it safe by treading the conventional route, even in 2020, do you foresee that, you made a very pertinent question, a point which is still very debatable about HR being a strategic business partner. Every organization, every CEO speaks about the importance of the value the people bring to the table. And HR manager is the guy who's solely responsible to get those people on board. But in India, there are hardly any organizations with HR on the board. So in 2020, do you think there's a slight possibility for such a huge transformation to take place in mindset and invite HR on the board?
Absolutely. See, organizations today, and I think you already see the HR presence in the boardroom because when I look at companies today, when I look at the board themselves, and I'm sure most companies follow this. If not, they should. Board does not make decisions on a quarterly basis without the HR input in place. So chief people officer or whatever the designation is, that the person holds in the company does have a say in the matter. When it comes to talking to the board and presenting the facts to the board and basically the board incorporating that individual's inputs into the overall functioning of the company. Whether there is a distinct seat available on the board, maybe not yet, for sure, but board decisions are not done in isolation. So to that extent, I say that HR is definitely part of that decision-making activities there within the organizations. Secondly, in terms of embracement, I would say that the pace at which the corporate India is primarily embracing changes has definitely fastened, over a period of time. And I think if we don't, then I think we'll always be one step behind there for sure. Whether the corporate India is currently doing it, I would want to say yes, because that's what I've been seeing and hearing from my colleagues, from my own organization, from that perspective and things like that. And I think if you don't do it, then it's a question of survival.
Well, one more pertinent issue that was raised by Professor was about what would drive millennials in 2020. So we are discussing a lot about work-life